See, dirt is necessary for growth and development. Dirt builds character. Dirt gives you the push-through factor. Dirt makes you come with it when you don't feel like coming with it no more. And you get dirt in a lot of different ways. All of y'all that had dirt thrown on you. And dirt ain't always what you want. It's somebody talking about you down on your job. It's somebody accusing you of something that you didn't do. It's somebody telling you you ain't gonna make it. It's somebody sharing information about you that ain't true. That everybody get dirt put on. But see, when you're getting put under that stress, please know God is always with you.
Pain isn't always bad. Sometimes it's good. Because you remember that pain and that hurt, and it pushes you to be great. There's times where you think, is there anything that can justify as to why I'm always going through something hard? Sometimes nothing ever makes sense that you're going through. I'm going through hurt. I'm going through pain. There's death in my family. There's sickness everywhere. But I tell you what, you can't throw in the towel. You can't give up. It just means it's time for you to fight harder. It's time for you to stand tall. Lift your head to the sky and say, I will overcome this. I will fight back. There's always something good that can come from bad. Why would you live a life with a negative mindset, with a negative attitude, when this life is great and you can become someone great just by the way you think, act, or react to things that happen to you? Everybody fundamentally has the same reality that you have, but we all don't react the same to things that happen to us. Deep down inside, there's greatness in each and every one of us. It depends on you if you find that greatness. But I tell you what, it's inside of you, and it's burning to come out.
When you're working on a dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. And the transition is what you're becoming in pursuit of the dream. Because even if you don't get the dream, you become such a strong and powerful person. It will so change your life, you can look at something else and say, well, I think I'll go do this then. Because you've now developed yourself in such confidence and such competence in how to deal in the arena of life that you can move into another area and not miss a beat. Once you begin to discover who you are, then you really realize how you have been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including all the dimensions of your life. But you can only do that through the struggle of life. And most people avoid the struggle. Most people go through life avoiding pain. And when you go through life like that, something in you dies. Something in you that you never activate is lying dormant in there, that you never get a chance to call on because you have not challenged yourself.
Every value in life must be paid for. And those that pay are the ones that get it. It says those that give receive. Someone says, I wish to receive, I wish to receive. You don't have to concentrate on receiving. Just become a good giver. It says those that search will find. Someone says, well, I need to find some good ideas to help change my life for the future. Then to find good ideas, that doesn't come because you need them, because it comes because you search for them. If you want good ideas, you got to go after them. You got to go to the class, you got to go to the workshop, you got to go to the training, go to the book, right? You got to go to the journal, right? Go where good ideas are being taught, go searching, go looking, because good ideas are not going to be wasted on those that are not seeking, searching, well prepared. So, prepare yourself to be ready for fortune when it comes, to be ready for challenge when it comes, to be ready for opportunity when it comes. Opportunity comes along and passes by the person that is not well prepared. How could my ideas be more powerful? How could they be sharper, more clear? How could I reach some people next year that I perhaps can't reach this year? I haven't reached deep enough into my own soul to affect some people. Some people just pass by and say, hey, what a good speech. But how could I make it stronger than that, deeper than that, more powerful than that? I cannot be as powerful as I could be next year. You know, you can't go to the 10th grade in the 5th grade. You just got to go through the grades. But the more you are prepared, when the 10th grade finally comes, now you can cash in and get 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more value from it by being prepared.
until you have had the taste of finishing, you will not respect yourself. Until something is done, come hell or high water, tears and struggles and pain, and you go through it anyway, and you continue to fight on no matter the circumstances, after a while, something begins to wither inside of you.
You're going to have such a period in your life where it seems like it's not working. You're going to have a lot of trials and challenges, and everybody has the turn back moment. Where the direction you're going, you will have to make a decision to keep going or you turn back.
And what we have got to do is know there's a power in you that regardless of what happens to you, you can stand up inside of yourself. I think that's what the poet meant when he says, out of the night that covers me, like as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods there may be for my unconquerable soul. You have an unconquerable soul.
See, some people quit because things are out of control. The moment you get in something where you don't get your way, or it's bad conditions or bad circumstances, the first thing the immature mind says is, this is ridiculous, I quit. I never will forget. I had a friend of mine who was much older than me, who was going through a real tough time in his marriage. I told him, you ought to get out. I watched him suffer so bad, I thought you ought to quit. He was so lonely that he got a dog and named it Friend. And I watched him take so many blows in his heart, in his masculinity, that it was so hard to watch. I wanted him to divorce her so I didn't have to see it. He stayed, and things got worse. And then sickness came in, and then it got really bad. And he stuck it out to the end. I mean, to the end. And I was at the funeral, and I remember thinking, you finished. You went all the way to the end. Better and worse, and sickness and health. You went through all of that stuff. It was amazing to see somebody who finished. The danger of living a life of incompletes. Nobody can count on you to stay. Forget winning. To stay. You don't have to be a superhero to stick it out, to endure. They used to come in my office and say, I'm leaving him because he's beating me. I'm leaving him because he's homicidal. Now they come in my office, they say, I'm leaving because I'm not happy. Who told you you was gonna be happy? Who do you know in your life that is happy all the time? To the person who keeps quitting, you have to live with that infection that you carry, that propensity to never finish. Are there any fighters in here? I fought my way up. I fought to get to work. I fought to stand. I fought to carry on. I fought to love. I fought to get out the bed. I fought with my fears, my anxieties, my insecurities. I fought with haters, backbiters, and betrayers. And many times I laid in the bed, I couldn't go to sleep because I was fighting with myself. I fought a good fight. You might not have seen it. You saw the glamour. But let me tell you what you didn't see. I fought to do that. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of courage. I lost a lot of money. Down on my knees, I was still believing. Lonely, I was believing. Betrayed, I was. Touch three people, tell them, keep the faith, keep the faith. If you lose a job, keep the faith. If you bury your child, keep the faith. If you have to move in with your mama, keep the faith. If you have to catch the bus, keep the faith. If you get sick, keep the faith. If you got heart trouble, keep the faith. You might not get a new heart, but you got to keep your faith.
Just keep walking, keep praising, keep thanking. That's when the miracle is going to take place. You can't go by what you see, go by what God promised you. My business is still slow. Keep on walking. These people at work are still not treating me right. Keep on walking. God sees your obedience. He hears you praising when you could be complaining. He sees you stretching when you could be shrinking back. As you keep walking, you're going to see God show out in your life. When you prove to God that you're going to do the right thing even when it's hard, then you're going to see God do awesome things in your life. Don't talk yourself out of what you know God is telling you to do. Sometimes it seems ordinary. You're asking God to promote you. He's saying, get to work on time. You're asking God for healing. He's saying, eat healthier, exercise, get more sleep. It doesn't have to make sense. That's what faith is all about. Faith makes room for provision. You can't wait till it happens. You have to make room for it when you don't see any sign of it. You have to talk like it's on the way. Think like it's on the way. Are you missing your miracle because you're reasoning everything out? You're looking at it all in the natural? God is supernatural. After Moses died, God raised up Joshua to lead the Israelites. The earlier generation never made it into the promised land. Now the children of that generation had grown up. They were headed to the promised land, but they had to cross the Jordan River. The problem was, it was the rainy season, and the Jordan was in flood stage, with violent currents rushing down from the melting snow. Joshua was familiar with this type of scene. He was there when Moses held up his staff and the Red Sea parted. When these 2 million people came to the Jordan River and saw how swollen it was, they didn't want to have anything to do with it. I can imagine Joshua did like his mentor Moses. He held up his rod and said, Lord, please let these waters part. But nothing happened. God promised Joshua, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. He didn't say, I'm going to do for you everything I did for Moses. There's a distinct calling on your life. You don't have to copy someone else, try to be what they are. Walk in your own anointing. Walk in your own calling. Joshua had to make a decision. Are we going to turn around and go back, or are we going to keep walking? Joshua's attitude was, we've come too far to stop now. Instead of turning back, he told all the people, let's keep walking. I can hear them say, excuse me, Joshua, do you not see there's a violent, raging river? There's nowhere to go? Joshua acted like he didn't hear them. There will always be people that try to convince you to turn back. You have to do like Joshua and have a made-up mind. I'm going to keep walking. I'm going to become all I was created to be. They looked back at Joshua one last time, thinking surely he's going to retreat now. Joshua answered with 3 simple words, keep on walking. The scripture says, when their feet got wet, suddenly the waters begin to push back. Miracles happen when there's obedience. God doesn't give us all the details. May not happen like you've seen happen with your family. Like Joshua, every circumstance may say, it's not going to turn around. Go back. You'll never get well. It would have happened by now. Don't believe those lies. Keep walking.
Life is going smoothly, then the bottom falls out. Everything is coming up roses, then the bottom falls out. That life starts going your way finally, then the bottom falls out.
And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is.
You worked on a job 35 years and now you're laid off. You planned for life to work a certain way and then the bottom falls out. You're looking for this and God sends that. That even though you love God does not mean that the bottom will not fall out.
You might be going through a season, since darkness is the absence of a thing. You might be going through a season of the absence of a thing that you legitimately need, but it ain't over.
You have to be awfully immature to think that every day is going to be a good day. Some days are better than other days. And some days, if it ain't one thing, it's another.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes things go real well, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life.
You may have to function for a while without the absence of the thing you adore. But it's not over. It's just that God has created the treasures of darkness. And in order to create the treasures of darkness, he has to take away light so that he can incubate what he's about to do in your life.
And I'm going to tell you right now, it won't be easy. It will be hard because life is hard. That's what life is. And these challenges, they're going to do their best to take you down. Do not let them. Stand up, dig in.
In the end, we are only as strong as the adversity that we overcome. The pain of the adversity will eventually subside, but the lesson will always remain. And that lesson will strengthen you to endure your next battle, this time stronger and wiser than before.
Line up those problems and confront them. Face them. Do not let them bring you down. In fact, let those challenges raise you up. Let them elevate you.
What do you do when you tried and failed and you want to quit and you want to give up? Because trying again means hurting again, means risking again, means believing again, means hoping again. Sometimes you can be blessed and be unhappy. Because even though things are going right, they're not going according to what you had believed and expected, and you know that something is missing out of your life. What do you do when something is missing out of your life and the things that replaced it do not compensate for what you lost?
I've always been told how average I can be. Always been criticized about being average. But I want to tell you something. I stand here before you, not listening to those words, but telling myself every single day to shoot for the stars, to be the best that I can be. Good enough isn't good enough if it can be better, and better isn't good enough if it can be best.
Turn your wounds into wisdom. You will be wounded many times in your life. You'll make mistakes. Some people will call them failures. But I have learned that failure is really God's way of saying, excuse me, you're moving in the wrong direction.
Other than death, all failure is psychological. Other than death, all failure is psychological. Think about that. If you aren't dead, then it's just psychological. Does not mean that you won't lose some battles, because you will. We all will. But it does mean that as long as you don't surrender, as long as you don't give up, as long as you don't quit, then you haven't failed. It just means you've made a temporary tactical retreat, a brief withdrawal, so that you can regroup and reattack. If you get beat, unless you're dead, you are not defeated. And you have not failed. What you've done is you've learned. You've gained experience, and you're still alive. So get up and go get after it.
We all live in this bubble. What you got to do to get the life that God wants you to have, you got to put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up, being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere, when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit. So it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of worrying constantly. If you don't love it, you're going to fail. So you got to love it. You got to have passion.
If you think ordinary's cool, ain't no problem. It's some really wonderful ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way. But here's the fact. All of you have extraordinary capabilities. All of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category. Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. He who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night.
You don't have to live worried, focused on the problems, wondering why it happened. You know a secret. You have favor in the storm. You know what was meant for harm, he's turning to your advantage. Here's the key. The enemy wouldn't be fighting you if you weren't a threat. Oh, get ready. Favor is about to turn things around. Favor is about to catapult you to a new level. Favor is not going to keep you from the storm, but favor will bring you out of the storm. We don't understand everything that happens. Sometimes life is not fair, but you have to trust that God knows what he's doing.
This thing called life, you just don't know what the next moment will bring. But here's what I do know, and I want you to know, you have comeback power. When something happens to you, don't buy into what has happened to you. Buy into, I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to change this situation. This does not work for me, and I don't have the luxury of being depressed and angry. I need to clear my head. This is no time to do something stupid, like hurt yourself. No, 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 no.
So get serious about your goals, business goals, financial independence goals, family goals. I mean, there's so many things to work on this. And if you don't get busy and work on it, sure enough, the time will pass. And sure enough, 5 years from now, you'll wind up where you don't want to be, wearing what you don't want to wear, driving what you don't want to drive, being what you don't want to be. Now's the time to fix it. Your goals are affecting you, whatever they are. Your goals affect your attitude, personality. All day long, we're being affected by our goals.
You got to clear your head so that the decision that you make represents the best in you. People who don't stop to clear their heads, they react. They don't respond. Be still and know But you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. And you don't want to be radical. You don't want to be erratic. Just be still and know, I'm going to get through this. You got to assure yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to clear your mind.
Your better future is a dream. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to see? You've got to dream dreams. Without dreams and visions, people perish. You've got to have something to go for. Take the crumbs from starving soldiers, they won't die. Take the bread from hungry children, they won't cry. But without dreams, we all will die. You've got to dream. Don't lose your dreams. Becoming something unique on your journey here, don't lose your dream. That's long-range goals. You've got to have those. Because if you set up something short-range, go for it, get it, latch onto it, work hard, accomplish it. That starts building your strong feelings to go for your dreams. Economics plays a major role in everybody's life, which means it ought to be meticulously well planned for tomorrow.
An area of life that matters clearly to all of us is time. And most people have very little mastery of this. I don't mean checking things off your list. I'm meaning squeezing out of your life what matters to you most. Your career, where is it now? Where are you financially compared to where you want to be? And especially with some of the changes that have happened in the economies around the world. And then finally, where are you in your level of sense of meaning, of contribution, and your sense of celebration in life? These are the areas that really matter most. Sit down and define what this looks like for you today. And invariably what we find out is almost everybody has some gaps. Gaps between where you are and where you want to be. And even if you've done incredibly well, I deal with some of the most successful people in the world, they're usually still happy in their life because they're hungry. They haven't lost that drive that says, look, what makes me feel alive is to know I'm growing. If my life's going to get better, I got to get better. I can't just hope it. And if my life is going to be rich emotionally, it's got to be expanding. And they know that. If you work your tail off at work to take care of your family and be the best at what you can do, your career's going really well. Isn't that the nature of human beings?
To me, successful is getting to the point where you are absolutely comfortable with yourself. It does not matter how many things you have acquired. The ability to learn to say no and not to feel guilty about it, to me, is about the greatest success I have achieved. The fact that I have, in the public side, done whatever, it's all a part of a process for growing for me. But to me, to have the kind of internal strength and internal courage it takes to say, no, I will not let you treat me this way, is what success is all about. I will not be treated this way. I demand only the best for myself.
We tend to focus on things we feel confident in, we know what to do in, and the other stuff we kind of hope it all comes together and try not to think about it too much, but it all affects us. You got to start with what it is you really, truly want now. You got to start with that end in mind. And then once you understand there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be, here's all we do. We believe that the most powerful way to change anything is total immersion.
It's happening to people, maybe not everyone, but to a whole lot of people. Their commitment to success is weak. They want to succeed, they will take 3 steps, then something little interesting happens here, they will go away here, they'll go away there, they'll go away there. Hey, I want to live, huh? Their commitment to success is weak. Either situations around them in some way, situations can impede you from doing what you're doing very easily. Many times it happens to everyone. But when this happens, people weaken their commitment for their success. Maybe physically, they'll feel a little weak. They will weaken their commitment to success. Maybe their emotions slosh around a little bit. They will weaken their commitment to success. This is very important right now. However long it takes, this virus, you must come out of this successfully. That means you must stay alive, that's an important part. And commitment to staying alive should not be slackened, no matter what happened. Somebody very dear to us passed away, all the more important we must live. People around us are all sick, all the more important we are healthy. to take care of the people around us. So our commitment to success should not weaken because there is social drama going on, or physiological drama or psychological drama, whatever happens, your commitment to success should not weaken. That is what gets you across so many lines in our life, so many barriers in our life. So, what does success look like? What does it take? You must understand, those who made any significant achievements in their life, they did not, I don't want to take any personal examples of anybody. I'm trying to avoid obvious things that are coming to my mind. Well, I know family and friends who always have their breakfast on time. And after breakfast, of course, they must have coffee. After coffee, of course, they must light up a cigarette and sit there nicely because they're trying to become peaceful. And then they will go to work, come back home exactly on time for lunch, eat lunch, rest for 1 or 2 hours, sleep, then evening have one tea and then smoke, and then again go to work. And 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're back home for dinner and then maybe other things, drink and this and that and whatever. Well, that's their priority. It's fine, I'm not complaining, it should not be that way. But those who have been very successful, either in music, sport, art, business, spiritual process, doesn't matter what, those people never know when they ate, when they slept, when they got afternoon rest. I've not seen such a thing in my life. So, those who are committed to being successful with whatever they're doing, one important aspect of their life is they're not settling down wherever it's a bit comfortable.
The enlightened person is traveling on a bus, and I used to travel a lot on Greyhound buses in the past in the States. And often you wonder, but at the next stop, who is going to the next person going to sit next to you? It could be somebody pleasant, or it could be somebody drunk, or it could be somebody who talks continuously. So the enlightened person is sitting there, somebody comes in at the next stop, and he's talking and talking and getting out his beer and drinking and getting more and more drunk, and then starts bothering you. But there's a seat over there that's free. Does the enlightened person say, I'm enlightened, therefore I'm not going to change seats, because what is the need to change my life situation? I'm at peace already. It is true that deep down there is the peace, but on the outer levels, certain situations are preferable to other situations, and one seat may be preferable to another seat. And so it happened once or twice that I did that. I changed seats on the Greyhound bus so to get away from somebody next to me. But if the bus is full, then what do? You can't change seats, then you stay and be at peace with where you are, which is perfectly possible. So the changes can take place on the surface of your life. There may be one place where you would rather live than the other place, or you would rather travel to this location than to that one. That's all on the surface of your life. There are certain choices, and you make certain choices. If there is no choice, you're perfectly fine with there being no choice. The peace is there anyway. And on the outer levels, some things are more pleasant than others, and then I would choose the more pleasant one, but perhaps St. Francis would have chosen the unpleasant one. Maybe that's our difference. And maybe that's the difference between medieval spirituality and this. There's not one is better than the other, it's just different. But what matters is that at the core, the peace is there. And so I believe everybody, even the Buddha, must have made certain choices. He chose to go to that particular garden. Somebody had given him a pleasure garden, so he moved himself from the forest into the pleasure garden. Why did you go from the forest to the pleasure garden? Wasn't the forest good enough for you? Says the eagle. No, it's just on the surface that seemed to make more sense to just, and was more suitable, and he moved himself there. He would have been equally happy with the rest of his life in the forest. So that's quite simply how it is. So you're perfectly capable still of changing your life situation. If change is called for, why not?
When you're in peace, you're showing God that you trust Him. Anyone can stay in faith when everything's going our way. The test comes when the contract doesn't go through, when your child is off course, when the medical report is not good. It's easy to let the clutter in. No, be still. That's the time to show God that you trust Him, not just with your words, but with your actions. See, the enemy's main target is our mind. That's the control center for our life. If he can keep it cluttered, filled with doubt, what if it doesn't work out, Joel? What if my health doesn't improve? What if I don't meet the right person? As long as our mind is cluttered, it keeps God from turning it around. God works where there's faith. 2 Chronicles 32, the king of Syria had a huge army. They had invaded that whole region, conquering all these large fortified cities by tearing down the walls and capturing the people. The city of Jerusalem was next in line. Word quickly spread throughout the Israelite camp. The people began to panic, so worried, thinking, what are we going to do? They're so much bigger than us. King Hezekiah said to the Israelites in verse 7, don't be afraid of this mighty army, for there is a power far greater on our side. They may have a great army, but they are just men. We have the Lord our God to fight our battles for us. When you face big enemies, big oppositions, you have to remind yourself our God is bigger than the cancer. He's bigger than the addiction. He's bigger than the people that are trying to stop you. The way to stay in faith is don't talk about how big the problem is, talk about how big your God is. He flung stars into space. He spoke worlds into existence. He healed my mother of terminal cancer. He gave us the Compact Center. The good news is, right now, He's breathing in your direction. He's pushing back forces of darkness. He's lining up the brakes that you need. Don't let fear clutter your mind. Don't let doubt keep you from your miracle. Don't let people talk you out of your dreams. The king of Syria sent a letter to the Israelites threatening them. It said, we've conquered all these cities. We've captured all these people. None of their gods saved them. What makes you think your God is going to save you? The enemy will always try to defeat you first in your thoughts. Things like you'll never get well. Your grandmother died of the same thing. You'll never break the addiction. That problem will never turn around. Don't believe those lies. He wouldn't be telling you that unless he knew it was on the way. Do like Hezekiah. Yes, this problem may be big, but I know a secret. My God is much bigger.
You must understand that failure is required. There can be no victory without a struggle attached to it. You don't deserve a victory without a failure. Failure does exactly what is necessary to make you better, to put you on the path at the right moment. And just because you fail, it doesn't mean that it's over. But when you get pushed back, you come back. You come back strong. You come back with the willingness. You come back with a purpose. Do not be afraid to fail. Failure is required. Champions cannot be champions without failures. And when that opportunity comes for you to rise up, Rise up with a full heart. Don't let it confuse you. Don't let it misuse you. Don't just accept it, but understand it. What good is a victory? What good is a win if you don't fail? You got to understand that this is what life is all about. Failure. What is it doing to you now?
When I think about the word dominate, I think about all the synonyms: to pursue, prevail, think, execute, and dominate. When I played college basketball, I sat there on the bench and I was very frustrated. Sometimes I had a bad attitude, but eventually I got my attitude together and I began to realize, you know what? If I just dominate the role my coach gives me, maybe that will position me to get promoted. So when he gave me 5 minutes, I dominated those 5 minutes, and that promoted me to 10 minutes. When I dominated for 10 minutes, that promoted me to 15 minutes. Before I knew it, I carved out a niche and I dominated. I became the top 6 man in the country. If we look around the business world, we have household names, and they're only household names because they dominate their industry. I need you to dominate every single day you go to work. If you're a company, you created the niche, your job now that you have the niche is to dominate your industry until you become a household name. I did no different when we started our speaking business. I got paid $25 in gift certificates the first time I spoke.
It's certainly something worth considering. And what is nothingness? Well, Alan Watts summed it up more than eloquently in a statement he made when he said that nothing is what your head looks like to your eyes, and that nothingness is what's watching. And I truly can't think of a better description. Nothingness and consciousness coexists in that space behind your eyes. You can't have something here without having that nothing there. So you need to be aware of that nothingness, the nothingness that lies behind your eyes, because it is within that nothingness that lies consciousness. And it's all connected. It's connected to ourselves, it's connected to each other, and it's connected to everything in the universe. You need to open your minds to see this. And once you've seen it, the more you can begin to realize it. And the more you realize it, you can quite literally feel it physically. It's like a warmth and a rise in frequency in your body. The true realization that there is no other. There is only one. And all that truly exists within that singularity is love. There are only two human emotions, love and fear. All other emotions stem either directly or indirectly from these two base emotions. But fear is an illusion created by this reality, because all that truly exists within the singularity is love. That's all there is, and love is all there can possibly be, because there is only one. There is only the singularity. So how can there be any other emotion at all? Indeed, how can there even be any concept of emotion? Within the singularity there exists only the singularity, and the singularity is love. There is nothing else.
What we've been developing is a population of emotionally weak people who perceive themselves in terms of victims. When you have challenges in life and you meet them, it brings something out of you. So, for instance, when my arthritis came, and I didn't know what else am I going to do at that time. I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to be a footballer since I was a kid. And now my joints are swelling up, and they're telling me I'm going to have to pack it in. Now I thought, I'm not packing it in. I want to give it a go. So I went to a club called Hereford United that was a league club then. And I played the whole season with rheumatoid arthritis. Every morning when we were training and warming up for training on cold English mornings, I was in agony. And I would be limping and what have you, and the players would say, "Oh, what's wrong now, Ike?" And I would give a different excuse. "Oh, I've got a bit of a pull. Oh, I think I've got a bit of a blister." But actually it was the same thing all the time. And I played the season out, and eventually it got so bad that I couldn't carry on. But it brought something out of me, this determination not to give up and not to give in. And then I decided, because when I was a kid, I was always reading newspapers, and I was very interested in journalism. So I became a journalist, and long story short, I eventually became a television presenter.
Well, very well known back then.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was a national television presenter in those days. And when I look at my life now, you see, and what I'm doing, my life before, which appeared to be a series of random events, same with you. You've had your challenges in life. What has it done? It's made you the person you are. You wouldn't be the person you are now without them.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, I regret that. Well, the thing to regret is if you don't learn from the experience. That's the regret. But learning from the experience, well, you just had a gift. What are you regretting for? And so I went into journalism because I was very interested in that. And I eventually became this television presenter. And when you look at my life, as I was saying, all the different elements of it, including going into journalism and seeing the media for what it is, going into politics with the Green Party and seeing politics for what it is, well, I didn't know at the time, but they were all giving me very, very important understandings that would be useful later on. And then what happened is, this is a kind of bizarre story, but it happened. I was in the Green Party, and I was still working for the BBC as a television presenter, and both were leaving me completely cold. The BBC, it's not a great organisation to work for if you care about the truth and you care about more than the official version of everything. And I also was looking at the Green Party politics from the inside and seeing that it was just like every other party. And so what do I do with my life now? Because I can't go on with either of these. And what happened was a very strange thing happened, because in the early part of, what would it be, 1989, I started having this feeling that when I was in a room alone, I wasn't alone. And there was an atmosphere there. There's something there. And through 1989, this got more and more and more powerful.
And to surround yourself with people who believe the same and who are rejoicing in your accomplishments and unhappy when you fail, right? And you're comparing yourself to your accomplishments of yesterday and not to someone else's today, so that you're not jealous and bitter. And you put your own house in order so that you're not cursing the world when some of its disarray might be your fault. And you're trying to pursue something meaningful, and you're doing your best to tell the truth and all of that. And then you see what happens. Who the hell are you? You think you're a miracle of some bloody bizarre sort. We've been around for 3.5 billion years. Every single one of your relatives propagated successfully. And here you are, against all possible odds, in this world of hell in some sense, and bitterness and tyranny and malevolence. And yet God only knows what's inside you, this capacity for consciousness, the capacity to confront potential and to turn it into something good. That's us, man. That's the Western story. That's the individual as the cornerstone of the state. That's our responsibility, and it really is who we are. And so we need to know that, and we need to remember it, and we need to act it out. And then maybe we can see what we can do about it, and see how good we could make things. And maybe that would be the purpose of your damn life, right? Not to be happy. It's like, there's problems to be solved. Be happy after you solve the goddamn things, right? So I learned, because I looked at dark things, that I learned that the light was more powerful than the darkness as far as that I was concerned, and that people were capable, each of us, of remarkable things, and that we need to know that that's what we are. We're this consciousness that confronts potential with all its catastrophe. That's what we are. That's what makes us in the image of God. That's what gives us our intrinsic value. And that idea that we have intrinsic value, that's the bedrock presupposition of our state. We're going to question that, or we're going to live it out. Better to live it out. Find out who you are. Thank you very much. It might be say that someone who is incapable of cruelty is a higher moral being than someone who is capable of cruelty. And I would say, and this follows Jung as well, that that's incorrect, and it's dangerously incorrect, because if you are not capable of cruelty, you are absolutely a victim to anyone who is.